Welcome to our inaugural Emerald City. I am so excited to be sharing this time with you. Emerald City is a place where we invite experts to help us realize we're wearing glasses, to take them off and realize not everything we're looking at is green. There's a lot of colors out there. And so for our first time together, I've invited Dr. Tina Schermer Sellers to join us. Tina is a sex therapist and clinical professor at Seattle Pacific University, and she works in the School of Psychology, Family, and Community. She also works at the University of Washington School of Medicine. She is joining us while on vacation, so I'm very excited to hear more about where she's at and how she's relaxing. You may have read some of Tina's words and wisdom at one of the most popular posts to date at Ruby Slippers, which is called Breaking Shame, Why Purity Culture Works. What I love about Tina is that she specializes in two of the areas that are usually kept separate, spirituality and sexuality. She bridges the two and in her work lectures nationally on the subjects of integrated health, family life, and career. And for the past 20 years, she has helped people discover their capacity for, get this, intimacy and erotic potential. She lives in Seattle with her beloved Gary, and together they have 4 children. One of Tina's favorite words is juicy, so of course I love her already, and we've had some great conversations and dialogue in preparation for this time together. So welcome to Emerald City, Tina. We're so glad to have you.
Thank you. It's wonderful to be here with you and to see you face to face.
I know, it's fun. It's fun to be a little bit more personal. I want to know a little bit about where you're at right now. You're on vacation, I know, but where are you staying right now?
I'm actually in Long Beach, Washington, which is out on the coast of Washington, which is a rugged coast. It's beautiful. The coast isn't always known for being clear, but it has been wonderful. And I get up in the morning and just walk for a really long time. I'm actually here by myself. I'm doing a writer's retreat. I've been working on a book for far too long, for about 7 years, on the church and culture and sexuality and spirituality. And I'm getting hopefully close to getting the manuscript done. So because we're between spring quarter and summer quarter, I snuck away to work on the manuscript. And then Gary comes up in a few days and we'll be meeting up with some other friends. So I feel like I'm in heaven with all my books around me. So it's been wonderful. Yeah.
I love it. I'm reading a book right now called See Me Naked by Amy Frickholm, and
Yeah.
I thought you may have heard of it. I'm glad to hear you're going to be contributing with your work in writing, formally writing. Is there any time you're anticipating this book coming out?
Gosh, I don't know. There's actually 2 books. One of them's called Sex, God, and the Church, How Spirituality Factors into Sexuality. And the other one is Thank God for Sex, Bringing Ecstasy and Intimacy Together. I don't know if they're going to end up getting merged into 2 books or whether they're going to be one, but both manuscripts have a first draft done. So we'll see what the editors say as to whether they can come out in a year or whether it'll be longer. The biggest challenge is I have 2 lighter quarters in the year, and then I have 2 insane quarters, and it seems like no writing gets done in winter and spring quarter. So I'm madly trying to get myself to a place where I can hand it off by at least the end of the summer, if not the beginning of the fall. So we'll see.
Well, I'm glad, and congratulations for getting this far. I'm excited to read that one day. All right, well, we're ready to delve in with some questions, and we'll look forward to how you wrestle with these, and I'll wrestle right back if I have a follow-up question. So I have about 6 questions here. And the first one I think is something that comes up again and again, and with your background in sexuality, I think you'll help us kind of wrap our heads around this concept. It's the concept of sexual stewardship, and here's the question. What does sexual stewardship look like for both singles and marrieds, especially as it relates to 3 things: desire, attraction, and lust? How can we steward our sexuality better?
I often think of the word stewardship as a word that has gotten really loaded, and it's often a word that we use as something we should do. And I think of the idea as stewardship as like a byproduct, like how contentment is a byproduct of integrity, right? It's something that flows out of something else.
Okay.
And so I think of stewardship as flowing out of our own sense of our belovedness. When we understand that we are fearfully and wonderfully made, all of us, including our bodies. And in that, we have actually actively claimed that, taken it, we've owned it, and we've learned to celebrate it. And we understand that that belovedness is a gift, a sacred gift, and we understand that others are beloved too. Then we treat ourselves in a way that has a lot of effects of how we are in the world, and we treat others in a particular way because of that understanding. So stewardship naturally flows out of that. So it isn't so much a list of things I do, it's a natural byproduct. And I think because of that, it has more of an authentic way in which it flows. I also think it means that we get out of each other's business a little bit. Rather than holding up, a list for each other, which hasn't been so helpful, I think, in our relationships with each other or with our relationship with God. It really invites up in so much shame. Instead, we need to be having so many more conversations about our belovedness. And what do we notice flows out of our understanding or our wrestling with our belovedness?
I love that. I love that we get out of each other's way more. I'm thinking one of the most difficult things about stewardship for people who are raised in the church is that we want the rules. We really want to feel like sexuality is so wild and scary. We want rules to hem us in, to make us feel protected. How can you maybe give us some practical ways, someone who has chosen to be celibate but before they're married, that they can inhabit their sexuality with this freeing, beloved approach? Are there some things you've noticed women or men doing well? And not to say you have to do these, but here's some examples.
I'll be really honest with you, Jonalyn. I struggle with throwing out a list of things. And I struggle with that question. I really think you can go to 100 books that will give you many, many pages of lists. And I don't know how helpful those lists have really been. Have we got it all figured out? I mean, do you look around and say, oh, wow, we've got it figured out in this corner of the world? I don't know that we do. I do think that we can love each other better. I do think we can come alongside each other with more grace. I do think we can ask each other more questions. I do think as we do that we can invite each other to examine, when do I behave in a way that feels like I honor my belovedness? When do I feel like I act in a way that honors the belovedness of somebody else? When do I feel like I act in a way that actually allows myself to feel my sexual desire, feel my beauty, and feel like I can get close to it and I'm not dangerous. Nothing's exploding. Nobody's dying here. I'm in a safe environment.
No, I love it. I love it.
And it's okay,
Yeah.
But it's like we don't talk about it in positive ways, so much so that people stay so far away that then they expect a switch to go off the minute that they are in a safe, committed relationship. And guess what? That switch isn't there.
I love it. That's so great.
And as long as they have spent turning it off, they will spend that long trying to turn it on. And we don't talk about that.
Wow.
And we need to.
Yes, we do. There is a shame that accompanies so many people on their first sexual encounter, whether it's their honeymoon night or with someone they're committed to, and they don't know why. Where did this come from? And it is stuffed down so easily. And I love those practical examples you gave. I'm just going to repeat them. The love better, ask more questions, invite people to examine what they are feeling, to honor what is making us feel beloved, and finally, to not back away from the feelings of sexual desire. These are I love them. I love them. They're very helpful. And I think they will engage us in more honesty with our own admitting this is something I desire. I'm trying to work more on a theology of desire, so I'm going to tuck that away for later for me to think on. Okay, let's jump to the kind of the next set of questions. Here's a very practical one. Dr. Sellers, I have heard that people who lose their virginity at a later date, 28, 30 plus, the less likely they are to enjoy sex and the less often they will have sex. Is that true?
Well, I love that question. That is a beautiful, wonderful question, and it's so a question from the heart. You know, it's like whoever asked this, I want to like take them in my arms and give them a big hug and just put their hands, their head in my hands and say, "Sweet pea, no, you are fine. You are so fine." So let me give an analogy. It's like saying to someone, if you wanted to be a virtuoso guitar player, is picking up the guitar at 28 too late? No, it's not. It's so much more complicated than that. If you are committed to learning the guitar at 28, if you're willing to put in the time, the practice, if your heart is in it, if it's in your soul, you will be a beautiful guitar player. And if more than anything, you want to experience what it is to play music with another who also loves music like you do, your time will come and that music will be mysterious and wonderful and amazing. And it won't be the very first time you play together because it never is. Just like two virtuoso jazz players, a saxophonist and a stand-up bass player, the first time they get together, even if they're masters in their field, it's not perfect the first time they get together. They have to learn each other. They have to feel each other. They have to study each other. And then they start making magic together. I mean, they literally learn to read each other and they play off each other. It's just like that with sexuality. But you have to put that much time and intention into it. So sexuality, sexual sharing it's an art form and it requires that much intention and study and heart. It requires believing and welcoming God into that space, believing that it is a way to be in communion with God and communion with others. It is so much more than what most people understand it to be. Most people are just settling on it kind of being a body, wham, bam, thank you, ma'am, genitals, penis, vagina thing. It has capacity so much beyond that. But the only people that know that are the people that really walk into it that far. So it doesn't matter your age. You could be 70, but if you're willing to bring your heart and soul to it, actually, the more of you there is, the more you will bring to it.
I love that. That. It's about what you're bringing.
Yeah.
And I like that you bring up that it's a skill, like any skill. That's very helpful. It takes some of the scary mystery away.
Yeah.
All right, let's move to a question here on modesty. You used a definition that we talked about a lot, about modesty being a way to recognize that you are beloved and how you dress knowing you are beloved. But you used a phrase including not giving my body away. How is this negative definition helpful, someone wants to know, when so many women are afraid men already have power to take their bodies from them? Can you give a more positive addition with the same meaning?
Yeah. One of the things I've become so aware of is how phrases get loaded, and particular phrases get loaded at different times across history, different cultures. So I grew up in the Jesus movement in the 70s. So unless you're my age, you don't really know that there was one. And it actually was a very interesting time.
I know. I've heard about this.
And it's not the one happening now. So I had to go, oh, whoa, I guess that one got loaded. Okay. So let me explain what I was thinking. what I was thinking by that is this idea of claiming, owning, and celebrating your sexuality, that so often I think when women get dressed, the idea that they are dressing for someone else is that idea that they're giving it away. Like they're not dressing for themselves. They're giving away that opportunity to dress for themselves in their style, in their way, in what's comfortable for them, in that place, in that moment. You know, do they feel like having their sweats on and having their hair on top of their head? You know, what is theirs? And there's something about inhabiting their body, you know, their body, all of us inhabiting our bodies in our way and being ourselves, whoever that is, and being that out loud, that puts us in alignment, I think, much more with our belovedness and with God than trying so hard to put ourselves in alignment out there with culture. You know, I was listening to one of Brene Brown's books this morning when I was walking on the beach, and she was talking about some research, some gender research, and she was saying that in femininity, when in the research, they're talking about that when femininity is described, the words thin, nice, and modest come up. So really, if you want to be what culture describes as feminine, it means be as small as you can, as quiet as you can, and as attractive as you can. That's what it means to play it safe as a woman. I do not believe that's what God created in women at all. At all. So that is to disappear, not live into your belovedness. For men, it's the same. Not the same words, but the same diminishments, right? For men, masculinity, the words are emotional control, think your work is primary, control over women, and the pursuit of status. So for men, stop feeling, start earning, and give up on emotional connection. Is that what God wants for them? No. They have to live into their belovedness. So I think we have to be careful both with the ways in which Christianity invites us, and I mean this in a cultural way, invites us to play it safe, and the way our broader culture invites us to play it safe. And we need to go back and look at God and our belovedness and say, no, not so. And that's what I mean by giving it away, if that makes sense.
It does. It makes a lot of sense. I like how you've made a connection between the virtue of modesty being polluted and actually used as a way to play it safe. And so it actually prevents you from doing what modesty as a virtue was supposed to do, which is own the power you have and dole it out in the ways that are true, honest, authentic of who you are, and also more wild, more expressive than what everyone else is wearing. And that often, ironically, creates good fashion. But it requires more risk.
It does.
More risk than you usually see around most Christian culture groups.
Yeah.
All right, let's move on to some questions about lust here. I really liked this one. Someone wrote in, Jonalyn, you mentioned in a post that lust is imagining sex with someone in a predatory manner, involving but not limited to taking their body for imaginary use without interest or care for their soul. I think the key word there is predatory. What if you dream about having sex with a friend? You care about your friend, yet you want their body. Is that lust too? How do you equate that?
Another word, lust, has gotten so loaded, I think it's dripping over all over the place. Heaven forbid we ever feel lust. Oh my gosh, you know?
Yeah.
Good night. Lord have mercy, right? So let's just say that if you have a juicy dream, wake up and immediately look to God and say, thank you, I am healthy. That is an indicator your body is working, your mind is working, your heart is working, you are integrated. You have no control for what happened at night. Your body was all working all together. What we do have control over is what we say and what we do. So if you look at the fruits of the Spirit, self-control is in there, and it's for a reason, okay? Because we have choice what we say and do. We've got to have choice about what we feel. Okay? Nice. You can feel all kinds of things, and it's a wonderful thing. Let yourself feel. Know it. Don't hide it. Don't push it underground. Be curious about it. Ask yourself, wow, I wonder what that's about.
Nice.
Don't beat yourself up about it, but also stay responsible. Invite yourself into responsibility about what you say and what you do. And also don't take responsibility about what other people choose to say and do, because you are not responsible for what they say and do. They are. And a lot of times people will say, if you wouldn't make me so mad, I wouldn't need to yell at you or whatever. Don't buy it. You're not.
Nice. I love the call from away from lust, like policing, into integration and celebrating that we are integrated. I feel like we could have a long discussion about lust here. But what I'm hearing from you is to kind of lighten up on the shame and be more investigatory. What is this about? And wow, praise God, I'm working. Hooray! Yeah. So that's nice. That's very refreshing. Thank you, Tina.
Yeah.
Okay, here's our last question. What are your perspectives on beauty and modesty regarding your relationship with your spouse versus your relationship for yourself? For me, this comes to dress, and here's the question. I generally don't use modest as a descriptor because of the baggage I associate with the term. I like situationally appropriate, comfortable, attractive, and confident. What we wear definitely reflects on us, but to me there's a vast difference between thoughtful image control and biblical prescription when it comes to covering our bodies. I think this person, and I didn't include this question, but the deeper question was, how should we be dressing when we do care about our spouse and the way they view our bodies? How much should we weigh what we like versus what they like?
That question is a question about relationship to me. So then it goes back to what's the quality of your relationship? What's the quality of trust in your relationship? What's the quality of mutual appreciation in your relationship? What's the quality of acceptance in your relationship? Is it the same thing when a man doesn't want a woman to wear a particular dress as it is when the woman says, oh my gosh, you can't wear those pants. Those are so 90s. Like, really? Like, I need to take you shopping. It's really a relationship. To me, it's a relationship issue. More to me than it's a modesty issue. I'm maybe they're asking who do we dress for, and then for me it goes back to the question of is the guitar for me or is it for him? Then after we get married, it's a gift either way, and it came from God, and it is always about the gift and the giver, always, and no matter what, it always should point us back to our belovedness and to who that gift is from. So I think this question could go many different ways.
Let me make it super personal, Tina, and I'm just going to ask for myself. That way, if it's helpful for anyone, it will be, at least for me.
Okay.
There is a verse that's often quoted about how once you're married, this is in 1 Corinthians, your body no longer belongs to you, your body belongs to your spouse. And that verse has been used and manipulated to sanctify and bless women doing everything or abdicating all responsibility in sex and in beauty dressing areas to their husband. And I'd like to hear your thoughts on this specifically, because I do see sex as a giving of your body to someone. I definitely see that. But I also think there's an abdication of power we can never completely give up. And we ought not to, because of the stewardship of owning this body and this soul. And I'd love to hear your thoughts on that.
So off the top of my head, we fall in love with each other as individuals. And when we are first together, we co-create the dance. We have no expectation, right? We don't know when we'll reach toward each other, what will happen in the conversation. I think that co-created dance is what always needs to be in a relationship. One of the things that happens so often when couples get together is they get in ruts, right?
Yeah.
He does this, then she does that. Or they get in roles. I do this, and then you do this. There's sociological research that shows that the Christmas party prior to getting married, she's all dressed to the nines. The next Christmas party, she's dressed up to here and, a dress down to the floor. And she's saying, honey, we need to get home because you have to go to work the next day. She's become a role. Okay? No, that's not what we fell in love with. We didn't fall in love with roles. We fell in love with people. When we make love, it's really important that we don't fall into this, you're doing this, then I'm doing this, you're doing this, but rather, who are we right now? And our goal, if we have a goal, is that we will share intimacy and connection and we will share pleasure. But other than that, I have no idea what's going to happen. There are no expectations. We are going to co-create a dance of lovemaking, and we don't know. And that's how we keep it fun. That's how we keep it open. And that's how we honor where we are, who we are right now. Yeah. Right?
Yeah. That resonates so much with me. It helps explain why making love is such a creative act and why it should be full of desire, because there's the anticipation like, oh, it might be different this time. Ah, what do I do? Oh, that you have to bring yourself into it. You can't just hit the cruise control.
No, and really, think about us as humans. I don't care how much you might like chocolate ice cream, but if you have it every single day, right? No wonder people are doing their grocery lists. And that is not making love. That is having sex. And that will kill desire, right?
And desire is the fuel, right? Desire is the fuel for hot sex.
Right. And I write about this all over my blog. I did a blog series on spirituality and Hebrew text. But when Aaron's sons went into the Holy of Holies, they were turned to ash because they didn't prepare in going into the Holy of Holies. When we go into making love with each other, we are going into the Holy of Holies. We need to prepare our heart and mind, and we need to go in intentionally to be with each other and to share love with each other, but not to decide what's going to happen there, right? And if we go in a cavalier way, it's going to kill desire. It will turn desire to dust. Those are the people that fill my office, right? I would like to work myself out of a business, frankly.
You're here.
So
I love it. I love it.
Yeah.
These are good things. I'd like to recommend those of you who are listening and watching and loving what Tina is saying as I do. I want to recommend you check out her blog. She blogs regularly about these things at blog.tinaschermersellers.com, and Schermer is Schermer, Sellers spelled with 2 E's. .com. Also, follow Tina at Twitter at Tina S. Sellers, again, 2 E's on her last name. And I would recommend that you check out some of her stuff at her site. She does intimacy retreats, which I have known from good friends who've attended. They are excellent. So there's more to be found about Tina and her work. And Tina, what a joy to talk with you. I'm going to take away integration, and the intentionality. So thank you for sharing yourself with us and taking a break from your writing to do so.
Oh, so fun to be with you, Jonalyn, and bless you in your work. I love what you do.
Thank you. I hope we can do this again.